So, welcome to the first video of our YouTube channel then. So, this first installment of Let's Actually Make Our Sales Team Close Some Deals, we're going to walk you through exactly how to write a killer sales script without overcomplicating it. Just make it nice and simple, which means that your team can actually find some pain, find the gap, they can bridge that gap with your solution, and then they can go on to convert the sale. What we don't want to do is just overcomplicate this whole sales script. And depends what you're selling. If you're selling something for a tenner, then yeah, you could probably word it out and you can have them just read through a script word for word. They're going to sound a little bit robotic, but you can do that because it's a really low purchase or a low product item. If you're selling something a little bit more high ticket, like a service, like a marketing agency, high ticket coaching courses, all of that kind of stuff, then you need to really get into it and have a decent conversation. It can't be scripted. You can't literally be reading, going through a script, because you won't sound empathetic, you won't sound authentic, you'll ask rubbish, dead questions, you won't actually get to the bottom of the pain as to why they need to make change. You'll hear me say it a billion times throughout these videos. You're not selling your product, you're selling change. So what is the change? Our script needs to be able to identify, for you to be able to sell your product efficiently, you need to identify what that change is for the client at a very deep level, but then also it needs them to understand how bad they need to change as well. Because remember, what human beings are very good at, and if you're over here in the UK, we're excellent at it, is hiding our problems. We'll put it deep in the back of the mind and it'll just go away on its own. But when you bring it front of mind, it becomes a front of mind problem. People take action. So let's get stuck into it. So I've really simplified it, and because what I don't want your sales reps to do, or if you are a sales rep, what I don't want you to do, is I don't want you to be overthinking everything as you're going for a call. So I call them swing thoughts. So for you golfers out there, if you know, you know. If you're standing behind a golf ball, the last thing you want to be doing is thinking, right, I need to hit down and I need to hit the back of the ball. I need it to go over there. I need to make sure that I'm not going to hit it like open club face, so it's going to shoot right. And you're going to have all of these thoughts in your head, and then you're just going to duff it into the ground and it's going to go about 4 yards. What you really want is just one or two little thoughts, nice and confident. You need your target line, and you need to, whatever that technical swing thought is that you're thinking of, just one or two things, nice and simple. It's authentic, it's loose, it's easy to do. This is what we need in a sales call. Otherwise, you just sound like a complete robot. So what was it that made you want to have a conversation with us? Obviously, that's an extreme circumstance. None of your sales reps should sound that bad. But we don't want to sound like that. We don't want that kind of monotone, boring conversation. What we want is good, deep, attentive questions. The only way you do that is by just following a framework as opposed to a script. So rip up those old scripts and let's create you a brand new one here. So the three things that we're going to do, so just keep it super simple. These are the three ways, the three different stages to a sales call. So you got find the gap, bridge the gap, close. That's it. So first is find the gap, second bridge the gap, third close. Fact find, showcase your product or solution, close the sale. Simple as that, right? So this is by far the most important thing that you're going to have to think about while you're on a sales call. Find the gap. This is where the action happens. This is where the change happens. Everyone thinks they're struggling down here, but in reality, you can't do that without this. How can you expect to close somebody if they don't realize how bad their pain is or how bad their motivation for change is? They're not going to buy something. If you're selling something for 10, 15, 20 grand, whatever it is you're selling something for, they need to have that motivation for change. Without it, they're not going to buy it. They're just really not going to buy it. So the find the gap part is so important. And the same, bridge the gap. How can you expect to showcase how you can help them if you don't know what you need to help them on? It just doesn't make any sense. And a great example of this, and these guys are the experts at this, is Apple. Next time you go into Apple when you're looking to buy a new iPhone, go and have a chat with one of their what they call genius bar people, whatever they're called. Go and have a chat with one of those guys, because I promise you what's going to happen is they're going to close you, and they're going to find out exactly what it is that you use your current phone for. So this happened to me very, very recently. So a quick example, I had the iPhone 14 Pro Max or whatever it was. It was a good enough phone, it was fine. Went into Apple just to have a look at the new one that just come out. Had a chat with them. So what do you use your iPhone for at the moment? Now I've got a young daughter, I've got a business, and I'm filming lots of videos and all that kind of stuff. So the camera is the most important thing on my phone. What do you think they did? They took me to the brand new iPhone Pro Max, with the new fancy, whatever it is, megapixel camera, showed me how great it is in comparison to my old one. All of the memories I'm going to capture with my daughter. Like, imagine those missed opportunities by like not having like such a crystal clear image of that memory and being able to go over it. Like those types of things, that sold me. I walked out with a new iPhone. I wasn't really expecting to come out with it. I just went in there to see what it was like, if it was actually any better. Come out with a brand new iPhone. And this is what you guys need to be doing. Obviously, it's a little bit different there because a lot of what you're going to be selling is going to be sort of concept or future results, particularly if you're selling a coaching course or marketing services or whatever. You're selling a future result. They're not going to walk out with it in their pocket right there like I did with the iPhone in a nice Apple bag. You can't do that. So you need to really help them understand what's going to happen and all that kind of stuff. So I get it, it's a little bit more difficult, but this is where all of the change happens in Find the Gap. It's the most important part of the call by none, by a country mile. So let's split that up now into 3. So in Find the Gap, these are the 3 things that we need to come out of the call. And like, we're not even going to move on to bridge the gap until we've found out these 3 things. So the first one is the problem. Number 2 is going to be the pain. And number 3 is their goal. So problem, difference between problem and pain. Problem is the issue, like a lot of you guys are going to be selling stuff that's going to help people. Let's just say it's to help them with getting an extra income, just a second income, whatever it is that you're selling, or financial freedom to get out of their job into something that's going to pay a little bit more. Whatever it is, changing their life some way financially. So the problem is they need more money. Vague as hell. It's vague as anything. That is not alone is not going to help them spend £5,000 to fix a solution. The pain is everything that's happening as a result of that. So if the problem is they want to make more money, the pain comes from working a job that they don't like. It's not paying enough money. They're already working 12 hours a day. They can't take on any more overtime. They're doing all of the hours they can at the moment, and they're still not covering their bills. They hate the fact that when they get offered to do stuff, not only has he not got the time to do it because he's working all the hours under the sun, he has to check his bank account. He has to look over his shoulder to see if he can afford things all the time. He feels embarrassed. He's got kids, can't do things with his kids. Wants to take him to Disneyland at Christmas, can't do that because he just can't afford to do it. And he feels like he's seeing friends and family do it. And he just can't do it. Feels like a bit of a failure. That's pain. Obviously, that's a very, very extreme circumstance, but you get the point. I'm just doing that just to give you the idea of what pain is. Most sales reps try to sell based on the problem. So they'll hear, yeah, I just really want to get a second income. I'm just not really earning enough at the moment. And their ears prick up. Great, okay, so look, this is how we can help you do it. We're going to do this, blah, 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 verbal diarrhea, straight into bridge the gap, but that's just like generalized crap. We can't actually identify exactly how we're going to fix the problems for them unless we know the answers. So good salespeople, they're calm. They ask more questions. So can you tell me a little bit more about that, please? And what's happening as a result of that? Wow, okay, and how is that affecting things then? And asking those types of questions where they're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper, getting into the real pain. Now, pain is going to come from, it can be an ego thing, it could be a finance thing, it could be a lifestyle, like missed opportunities, it could be a time thing, it could be a health thing, it could be a stress thing. It can fall into one or more of those categories. The chances are it's going to fall into several of them. Like that example we was talking about, where he's not earning enough money, finance obviously, relationships, he's not being able to do things with his kids that he wants to do and he's working all the hours under the sun, so time. It could be affecting his relationship at home because he's working all the hours. He could be stressed because of it, so it means he could be acting like a different person. He could feel like an absolute failure as a parent. All of that kind of stuff, that's pain. That's real pain. And then the third thing that we need to get, so let's go back to this. So the problem, we need to find the problem and the context behind it. We need to find the pain, but we need to be specific. So we need to get as specific as kind of in that example. Obviously, everyone's going to be selling different things. And if you're a marketing agency or something like that, it's going to be slightly different because you're already speaking to business owners. Hopefully, you're not speaking to business owners that haven't got any money and they're not really doing anything because that's a hard sell, trying to sell something to someone that can't afford it. But they're going to have pains. sales team aren't performing, they're not hitting their figures, they've got a target, they're nowhere near it. But why do they need that target? But at the moment they're working all the hours under the sun, they're working in the business, not on the business, because it's not bringing enough money, they can't invest into it. So it's meaning, and then we go back deep to those same sort of problems. It means they're working 12 hours a day because they're trying to catch up, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. They've got a young kid, the reason they started their business is because they want to spend more time, but actually they're spending less time with them, and it's actually affecting the relationship at home, the wife's nagging him, all that kind of stuff. Again, so we've got into that, we've got from the top level, which is surface level, like vagueness, all the way down to real deep stuff to where they actually are going to want to make a change. And then we need their goal. So where do they want to be? If it's, I want to get to 10K per month, I want to build my business to £1 million a month, whatever it may be, that's their goal. Now we know how we get there. The important thing about getting a goal is because we can now start to monetize their problem, particularly if it's an income-based thing. Even if it's not, even if it's like an action-based thing, if you're in the fitness industry and somebody is 18 stone, but they want to get down to 14 stone and all the things that's happened as a result of that, that we now know the deficit is 4 stone. In this situation, if they want to get to 10K per month and they're only earning £3,000 a month, we now know their deficit is £7,000 a month. So in theory, the cost of inaction is £7,000 a month. In the fitness example, the cost of inaction is 4 stone. So what's happening because they're 4 stone heavier? Are they performing well at work? Are they tired all the time? Are they not able to do the things they want to do? They live in a bit of a crappy life. They're not doing what they want to do with it. That's the goal. They can start to picture it. They can see it now. It becomes tangible. This is the problem. Now, when you, particularly if you've got a finance thing, if you can see that the deficit is £7,000 and you're selling per month, and you're selling something for £3,000 or £5,000, £10,000, whatever, it's clear for them to see how quickly they can make that money back, even if they only get halfway to where they want to be. And let's just say their target's 10,000 and they only get to 6,000, but they're only on 3 at the moment. Still 3,000 better off every single month. Much better place to be than where they are now. Helps them understand and get that motivation for change. So that's Find the Gap. Now we can bring that into Bridge the Gap. So again, in Bridge the Gap, we're going to break this down into 3 simple things. So I don't want you coming on to Bridge the Gap until you've understood the problem and the context behind it, the pain and the specifics attached to that pain, and then the goal. Once you've done that, and this is why your mind is nice and clear, because all you need to do is focus on that. Do you need to think to yourself, do I have the problem? Yes, I've got that. Okay, great. Yes, I want to make a little bit more money. Have I got the pain? Well, yeah, we've got that in abundance. We've got the fact that they're not seeing their kids as much as they want to do. They feel a bit of a failure. They're not earning enough money. They're looking over their shoulder to see if they can go out. They've had to cancel holidays because they can't afford it, all of that kind of stuff. Pain. Have we got the goal? Yes, he wants to get to £10,000 a month. Great. I can now move on to Bridge the Gap. I know I've done this part right. And if we actually look at this from a scale of what the call, obviously when you're on the call, you won't know. But for you business owners and sales leaders and stuff, when you're evaluating calls, which you should be doing, if you don't, then have a chat with us and we can help you with it. But if you should be evaluating their calls. And when you look at the actual call, let's just say the call, just for ease, is 60 minutes. This needs to, Find the Gap probably needs to be about 20 to 30 minutes. I like it to be roughly around half, but it just depends on the objections. If you're getting into a bit of a battle at the end of the call, it's going to make it a little bit shorter. So 20 to 30 minutes, so roughly sort of 40 to 50% of the call. Bridge the Gap needs to be 5 to 10. And then test closing and closing, all that kind of stuff needs to make up the rest of the time, like 20 minutes. This bit shouldn't take long at all because you don't necessarily need to focus too much. In some cases you will do, but you don't necessarily need to focus too much on what's actually happening as a result of it. Go back to the iPhone example, and they didn't tell me about how the phone was made and where the parts come from and all that kind of stuff. They didn't need to. It wasn't important to me. The thing that was important to me was the camera, so that's what they focused on. They're selling the destination, not the journey. They gave me a little bit, like obviously if you're selling a concept, you're not necessarily going to give them the tangible asset, so you need to let them know how it works if you're selling a course. So you're going to let them know, so once you've enrolled, what's going to happen next is this, 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 and this. We'll go into that in just a moment. Do that to cut that off so we know that's Find the Gap. We'll get into that in just a moment. But yeah, so when you're in Bridge the Gap now, what we need to do is we need to focus on these 3 things. So now we've got those 3, we're going into Bridge the Gap. So the first thing that we need to do, actually before we go into that, because we're not going to write this down, but just be confident in this stage. You shouldn't be doing this bit. You shouldn't be pitching them and actually showcasing your solution and trying to bridge their gap if their gaps don't exist that you can fix. Don't try to fit square pegs in round holes. It's just not going to work. You're not going to close people, and you're going to wonder why you're not closing. It's because you've either not qualified them properly, not done this part right, or they're just the wrong type of people. So if your marketing's on point and you're actually getting good quality leads, that shouldn't necessarily be too much of a problem. But when we go into bridge the gap now we're confident that we can help them, we know what the problems are, we know where they need help and support, we can now show them how we're going to fix it. So the first thing we're going to do with confidence is we're going to fix their problems, show them how to fix the problems, and just focus on those. Problem stroke pain. I'll just put problems there just for easiness. So we're going to fix the problems. We're going to show them how our solution fixes those things. And we're going to ask them to see if they understand it as well. So this part of the program is actually going to help you do X, Y, Z. And the main reason I want to focus on this is because you told me earlier that you want to do X, Y, Z. And we're going to do this, this, and this. So can you see how that's going to help you get to whatever the solution is? We'll actually give an example to this. Let's just say you're a marketing agency then. So the person that you spoke to wants to add an extra, I don't know, 50 leads to their business, whatever it may be. But they don't want to spend, one of the biggest problems is they've spent too much money on ads in the past and they're worried about controlling the lead cost or whatever. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up multiple ads. Within those multiple ads, what we're then going to do is we're going to target different audiences within it. So although it only looks like we're running sort of 5 or 6 different ads, we can have different target audiences in each one of those. So in reality, we're actually going to be running anywhere between sort of 20 and 30 ads at any one time. What we're going to do is we're going to spread your budget nice and thin, and we're going to give you, we're going to give it a few days, and we're going to start to see which ones are doing well, which ones are doing not so well. So we're going to be generating leads in that time, but the main thing we're looking for there is your baseline conversions. We're going to be looking for the ad sets and the target audiences that react well, and we're getting good lead costs for, and we're going to be looking for the ones that aren't doing so well. So for the ones that aren't doing so well and they're costing too much money for the leads, what do you think we're going to do to those? We're hopefully going to turn them off. Okay, great. And what do you think we're going to do then, once we now know that we've got some killer lead sets, some ad sets that are working really well, generating you good leads? We're hopefully going to feed more budget into that. Exactly. So can you see how that's going to help you start to scale with confidence, because we've already seen how much, we've already found some winning combinations, which means we're going to generate leads at a decent price. Well, yeah, I can see that. Okay, great. So we're asking them, we're keeping them involved. This bit, you should be talking way more than they are. They should be talking way more than you are in that part, because, like you've heard the old saying, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So you're asking questions here. But here, we don't want you just to be talking the whole time. We still want them engaged, because you get it sometimes and they go, like you ask them a question and they go, sorry, what? Sorry, they weren't listening. We need to make sure they're constantly engaged, and they should be so excited by this part that you're giving them a solution to this problem. They should be so excited, and they should be listening. They should be engaged the whole way through. So just make sure that you're checking back in and asking questions and getting them to agree with you. This is going to help them do that, because what that's also going to do is start to handle some objections further down the line. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to give them the journey. Like I said, you're not selling an iPhone, you're not selling a tangible product that they can walk out of the shop with. You're selling future results. So the way that you kind of make it tangible, or you do your best to make it tangible, is by letting them know what happens next. And what this is also doing is building up the logical side of your argument. You've heard of the saying, I know you have, people buy with emotion, justify with logic. So we don't just need to focus on the emotion, which is what we are doing here. We also need to build up the logical side as well, because when somebody says, you spent £5,000 on what? You spent £10,000 on what? And they have those type of conversations, and that can be in a dialogue as well. It doesn't need to come from a third party. They could be waking up in the morning thinking, what the hell have I just done? And we want them to now argue that, counter that with the logical argument. So when somebody says, you've just spent £5,000 to help you do this, that's crazy, you've been scammed. No, I haven't actually, because I've got this, 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 and this. And what's going to happen, I've already got access to this, I'm getting access to this, and I've got a money back guarantee and all that kind of stuff. Because you've explained the journey, you've helped them overcome that logically. And that's what we're doing there. They're justifying it with logic. So go through the offer, what they get with it. If it's an event, what do they get as a bonus? All of that kind of stuff. Do they get a guarantee? Walk through how it all works. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give you access to this. Then we're going to do that. We're going to do this. For a marketing agency, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get an onboarding call booked in with you tomorrow. Then what we're going to do over the next 2 weeks is we're going to go away. We're going to start creating some of the ad copy, some of the creatives and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll send them back to you, get unlimited revisions, all of that. So you're walking them through exactly what happens. So they've got a clear picture as to what happens next, because we don't want any uncertainty. Uncertainty is just going to cause refunds or just get them to say no and just dwell on it here when we get to the close. So the next thing we're going to do is the journey then. So once we've done that as well, is we can start to pre-handle objections. Excuse my writing. So in the pre-handle objections part, we are going to do some of it up here as well, because if you think back to that example that I said with the marketing agency, so do you see how that's going to help us scale your ad campaign, or like with confidence, knowing that we're not just going to waste a load of money? By doing that, that's actually pre-handling some of the major, like the real objections, which is your fear, risk, or trust, because some of the things that they're thinking, is this going to work for me? Well, that's going to help with that as well. Am I going to waste a load of money before we start to get results? Well, that's just fix that one as well. And how quickly can I start to get results? These are some of the things that they're thinking in their heads. You're going to start pre-handing some of that stuff up here. But when you start to get common objections, whether it's, I don't know, we might get it all the time. Well, look, I'm just going to get Christmas out of the way, and then we're going to start again in January. If you're starting to get that objection quite a lot, for example, you can pre-handle that because you can take it off them. You can literally take that objection away from them. And what you could say is something like this. Look, and I've spoken to a few people So what you can say is this. So, and look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Some of the reasons that people don't buy this is because they just think that they've got stuff coming up and they're going to wait and they're going to dwell on it for a few months. But almost always, once that's happened and a few months have passed down the line and they've joined the program, joined the training, whatever it may be, they've all told me, why didn't you convince me to do it earlier? And the biggest problem with that is the fact that now they're at 5K per month and they was at 3K a month. Imagine how much money they would have made, or how much quicker they would have got towards their target goal if they took action back then. So that's the main reason people do it, and I hate to say I told you so, and you've just taken that objection completely off of them. They now can't use that, because you've just told them this is what a lot of people do, but they all regret it. So they now can't say, yeah, I'm just going to wait 3 months. I'm just going to be like that person that regrets it. They can't say that. And the only reason they're giving you those objections is because they're smoke screens. They aren't the real objection. So all it's doing is helping you get to the real objection much quicker, further down the line, way more directly. So pre-handle some objections in there. There's loads of different scenarios. I'll do another video on it another time to help you out with that one. So then once we've done that, so again, we've simplified this. So we've gone from find the gap, bridge the gap, close, the 3 parts to the sales call. Now, this is all we need on a script, by the way. So then under find the gap, we've got problem, the context behind it, the pain, the specifics, and the goal that they're looking towards to get towards. So now we've done that, that's find the gap. That's a good flowing conversation, good questions being asked because you know the outcome. When you're thinking of goal setting and stuff like that and you work your way back, what am I looking to get towards? Whatever. Right, let's work your way back and work out exactly how we do it so we know the small actions. That's what you've done with this. You want to get towards understanding them as a whole and understanding why they've got a motivation for change. This is the way you've got to do it. So these 3 things. So it's simplified as hell. Next one, bridge the gap. We fix the problems, we show them the journey they're going to go on, and then we pre-handle common objections. Close. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to chuck a test close in. Test close. Number 2, call to action. Number 3, objections. Simple. So number 1, we want to chuck a test close. I don't want to be doing a call to action. I don't want to be asking someone for money if I'm not 100% sure, or at least very, very confident that they're going to say yes. Because objections are much easier to overcome before the call to action. So although I've put it under there, inevitably you're going to get some anyway. But the test close should hopefully bring this up here below the call to action. Because, and you'll hear it all the time, like you shouldn't be getting objections like all these gurus on Instagram. You shouldn't be getting objections, otherwise you've not done the sales call right. I can kind of understand what they're saying, but some cases you're going to get objections. It's inevitable, it's going to happen. I don't want you to feel like a failure every time you get an objection. It's just part and parcel of sales, and it's one of the most important things that you need to learn. This is the most important thing, but this is the next important thing. But you can't do an objection handle efficiently unless you've got to find the gap right, because you're going to show them how you're going to solve their problems. Like if it's an actual real objection, like a risk-based objection, like what's more risky? Let's take a look at the risk. What's more risky? At the moment, you're earning X amount of money, which isn't enough to cover your bills, and you're working all the hours under the sun. You're not getting to see your kids, and you're not getting to do X, Y, Z. If you were to take some sort of action, let's look at the worst case scenario. You're going to get X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. If you've got a money back guarantee, you can talk about that. So in which situation is more risky? Doing nothing and staying where you are, or taking some action? And worst case scenario, we only get you to here. Well, obviously, it's staying where we are. So you're not going to be able to do that efficiently unless you know this bit and you've got this bit down. But again, we do some more videos on objection handling. But test close, a great example of a test close. Again, we can do another video on this, but a great example of it. I can't remember, I heard someone use it recently, so we must have got it from the same place. I can't remember where I heard it originally, but really good test close is like, look, and you're probably thinking, oh, this guy's been chatting to me for the last half an hour, he's completely full of crap. So what do you need to see or hear from me to know that this is going to be the right thing to help you to get towards X, Y, Z? And you can make a little joke with it as well. So you're speaking to this guy for the last half an hour and you're probably thinking this guy's completely full of crap. And you know what? My wife does all the time. But look, so what do you need to see or hear from me to know that this is exactly what's going to help you get towards X, Y, Z? Or another example, by the way, with that one, what you're going to do is you can actually just find out if they've got any questions before we go to a close. If they go to, know what, mate, I don't know. I think you've explained everything. Great. Perfect. They should buy. They should be ready to buy. Why wouldn't they? They've got all the information they need. It's knowledge, not time, that's going to help them make a decision. It's that information they're going to get that's going to help them make a decision. And they're saying they've got everything. So we've got to be assumptive and know they're going to close at that point. Another example, you could say, so once you join the training and you get towards X, Y, Z, what's the first thing you're going to buy? What's the first thing you're going to treat your kids with? Something like that. Again, a test close would be really assumptive. Once you join the training and you get to X, Y, Z, what's the first thing you're going to do? Something like that works really, really well. It's going to give you an indication that we can move on. We can go into a call to action. My first call to action that I love to do is always an invitational close. Doesn't necessarily have to. You've got a few different types of closes. I know a very common one in the training space is an either or. So how do you want to get started with a credit or debit card, whatever it may be. Works really well. It does work really well, but people like to buy stuff, but they hate to be sold to. So my first close is normally an invitational. So look, I'm 100% sure that we can help you get towards X, Y, Z. And do you know what? I'd absolutely love to have you on board as one of our clients. So what would you like to do next? That type of question. Ask them what they want to do next. And if they say, I'm happy to move ahead, perfect. If not, we're giving them the ability to, we're giving them the opportunity to ask us questions, to give us objections. Completely fine with that, because we know how to handle objections. We should be super sharp with objections. There shouldn't be anything that happens in this call. Okay, you're going to get a few odd ones, but like 99% of the time, there shouldn't be anything said from a prospect that you're not prepared for. You should be fully prepared. So specifically objections. If you don't know how to handle an objection and you're not new, you've been doing it a while. Obviously, if you're in your sort of like first couple of weeks, it's probably going to be a few things. But if you've been doing it for a little while, an objection pops up, you don't know how to handle, that's on you. You need to understand and know how to handle all of the objections. And then, so once we've done a call to action, invitational close first, then we go on objection handle. Again, I'll do a separate video on objections, but the framework for it is to acknowledge the objection, not agree with it, acknowledge the objection. So I hear what you're saying, I get what you mean, whatever it may be. Handle the objection and then close. And that's it. And that's your call. Obviously, we've got objections after. Once we've done the objections, we're going to get them over the line and we're going to sign them up and bring them on board. That's the call. Simplified. None of this 4, 5, 6, 7 page scripts where you're reading it sounding like a robot. Find the gap, bridge the gap, close. Find the gap, 3 sections. Bridge the gap, 3 sections. Close, 3 sections. That's it. 9 different bits to your sales call, nice and easy. Give it a go, close some more deals, let me know in the comments how you get on, and if you have any extra questions, fire away. If you did want to inquire about potentially working with us, how we can help you build a sales team, or if you're looking for a sales role, click some of the links in the YouTube channel. I'll put some in the description, and look forward to speaking to you soon.